Hello and welcome to the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. So we're having open conversations about building property businesses that create not just cash flow, but also freedom. And a big part of that is the big picture strategy for how you're going about doing that. And this episode is really about that. So what's the strategy for how you're going to do that? And how are you going to maximize your potential along the way? So here's an episode that we have been talking about for many months now. This is all about the Wealth Dynamics personality profiling tool. So how you can understand yourself and what your ideal role is going to be using this amazing personality profiling tool. So it's about finding your flow and figuring out what's going to take more energy from you that you might need to be more intentional about in terms of the tasks that have got to get done in your business, but maybe you procrastinate on. So it's all about understanding yourself better. So a great place to start 2024 to make sure that you can master yourself as you go through what's set to be a fantastic year. So here's myself and Dom for Flow or Oh No, understanding yourself and your ideal role using Wealth Dynamics personality profiling tool. Hello, Dom.
Hello, Jackie. You're in the Philippines.
I am indeed. And it is it's too late in the evening trying to cross over with you guys in the UK, 8 hours behind. It's actually more of a challenge than I realised, but maybe more on that another day.
Yeah, but it makes us appreciate the team that we do have who do work in the Philippines and how they really turn their life around effectively to be able to do the work they do. So makes us all the more appreciative.
That's very true. Well, lovely to be with you, Dom. This is December 2023, and this has been an episode that we keep on talking about, and it's time for it to be done. And it's talking about Wealth Dynamics personality profiling tool, what it all is about, why it's useful, how you can use it, and starting to demystify that. So more of a foundation for what that tool is all about.
Yeah, I absolutely love Wealth Dynamics. I've qualified in about something like 4 or 5 different psychometric profiling tools. And there's 2 in particular I come back to on a regular basis. And actually the one I come back to the most is Wealth Dynamics because it's so simple. People get it quickly. It makes a lot of sense. It's easy to remember. And it links to other things in the world, like the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Those are different energies. And people largely fit into one of 4 types of personality. And understanding that shifts your perspective enormously on how you see yourself, how you suddenly understand other people, and it really affects who you employ in your business and how well you're going to be able to work with them and the different skill sets that they bring and things like that. So it's an amazing tool. Absolutely love it. I literally use it on almost a weekly basis.
Yeah, because we keep mentioning, right? I'm probably if I had 100 quid for every time I mentioned it on the show so far, I'd be able to get a very nice Michelin-starred meal or 2. So I think for me, what I like about Wealth Dynamics as a psychometric tool is that there's 8 different profiles that it can put you into. And there are some where you can be put into more, like other tools where you can be put into maybe one of 16 different categories. Yes. Now, we are not one of 16 types of people in the world or one of 8 types of people. And that's it's not we are far more than just one profile. But what I like about Wealth Dynamics is it's more the little chart. So when you take the test, you get a 30-page report or something, and it will give you a primary profile, but on the second page or third page, it gives you a little diagram, which is kind of like a little graph for how you rank against all the different profiles. And that, for me, I've just found so visually clear about someone is not just one profile. There's a kind of more of a story behind it, and that graph shows that picture and in a very visual and memorable way that helps put people into categories that we can kind of make sense of, but also realize that it's not just you are one of 8 different types of people.
Right. And that's the thing. Some people really hate being put in a box, and I know I'm like that. We're not one. I'm not just an introvert or I'm not just an extrovert. We have different sort of percentages of each of that within us, and also the environment that we're in will influence that too, right? Because some people are way more outgoing when they're at home with a family environment versus other people who would be, that in a networking event, for example. So it's useful to just get an image and a picture and a filter through which we see the world. But we should probably go back a little bit for the listeners, just to go, this is not a new methodology. It actually springs from 4,000 years ago, something called the I Ching out in China. Carl Jung popularized the 4 different personality profile types. However many years ago he was alive, I forget now. But anyway, he brought over that concept from China, and from there it's built out. So some people know it as DISC, which is dominance, interpersonal, steady, and compliance. Other people know it as other things. But of the sort of 3,000 to 4,000 different psychometric profiles there are out there, about 3,000, about 2/3, sorry, three-quarters rather, are based on this this methodology of 4 different, largely 4 different personality profile types.
Amazing intro, Tom. You like know so much of the background, which is awesome, because I know none of that background. I'm just like, oh, I just use it practically. So it's really yeah, it's great to get that context. And how long have you been using Wealth Dynamics for?
Oh, wow. So since 2006, I remember I went to an event, and the founder of Wealth Dynamics and Genius U Group, a guy called Roger Hamilton, who is absolute genius in his creativity, and the tools that he's created for business, for small businesses, very, very useful. So I've effectively known it since then, and found out from then, what sort of profile I am and how it impacts me and how it impacts other people that I'm working with, and the things that come naturally to me. Because it's all about being in flow. Because and we've done an episode on flow with Dave, and it's so good to be in flow and know where you are in flow, so that life isn't hard the whole time. Yes, struggle is necessary in some aspects of life, but actually being in flow is when you're just in the moment and you're there and you're loving it. So if you know your profile, you can be there more often. You know how to be there more often, because then actually this isn't, looking at the spreadsheet is just really hard for me rather than someone else who loves it. So
it's not that you can't do it, right? Like, we can all really do, I believe, anything that we choose to put our mind to. And that's kind of a lot of what we talk about on this podcast. Like, our personality has been formed through the events that we've been through over time, and that creates certain ways of being. But actually, I think it can really change a lot as we change our perspective on the world. We realize we can do lots of other things. And so, like, Wealth Dynamics is not saying you cannot do that. So like you and Dave, if you were looking at the Wealth Dynamics visual that you get, you're like the mirror image. So like Dave, it's very what we'd say like left-hand side, which is the more structure, detail, process side, spreadsheet side, you could kind of say. And you're the mirror image, which is much more people, relationships, less structure, more, what's the opposite of structure?
Feeling. It's and so Dave would kind of, some people understand it as introvert. He would be more of an introvert, I'd be more of an extrovert, and that's where we get our energy from. So I get a lot of energy being around other people. He tends to get more energy from maybe being alone, looking at other stuff and doing his thing. But of course, we're all of us are both of that, right? We all need time to ourselves. We all need time to be with others. So it's just introvert, extrovert is one thing that people talk about a lot, but we are always both, and it's just as to how much and where we get our energy from. That's the best way to understand it.
Yeah, and that's a really nice way of putting it. And so you guys, so Dave is very left-hand side, process, structure. You are more feeling, people, intuition on the right-hand side. I am the top part of Wealth Dynamics, which is why we're really good little tripod between the three of us. I am much more creative ideas and seeing how things kind of fit together, and like maybe that's the best way to put it. Great at starting stuff, not so great at finishing stuff, which is why I like working with Dave, because he is a very good finisher.
And he loves to finish and doesn't stop until he has. And so one of the lovely things, one of the big insights that I love from this tool is that everyone lives with their life with a question, a dominant question that they're always asking themselves. And so you at the top, the creative type people, that spring energy, the innovators of the world, they live with the question of what is next? What am I doing? What's the goal? What's the vision? It's all the what questions. Then over to the right, you've got the people like me, sort of more people orientated, and relationships. And my dominant question, whenever I don't know the answer to something, I think, well, who else knows the answer to that? Who's done that before? What's the competition in the market that I can copy or do something similar? Who's written a book on that problem that I can read and find the answers to? And that's awesome, right? But some people never think about who. They're just thinking about, yeah, it's all
How?
very good. Yeah, how exactly? So Dave is a how person. He's thinking, how do I do this? You know, the information he needs to get, and how is he going to put it together? What's the system that needs to go in place in order to fix this problem? He's the how. But at the bottom, there's also the people who are balanced in a way with between left brain and right brain, or you know, right side and left side, logical and emotional, and they are the sort of the tempo energy. So they're all about timing. So they're all about when. Their dominant question is, I get what you've just said, Jackie, about what we're doing, but when are we doing it? And
Yes.
you know, what's the time frame to execute on this project or this problem that we've got to solve, etc. So they're very
Rowena is our tempo person. We're actually generally in our team weak in tempo, and I really see it. Like, we have got a lot of left-hand siders in our team, you know, very process-driven people, good at following something and replicating something. But it's just amazing seeing how Dave has no freaking, no, that's not fair. His natural flow is to have no clue about time. Like, he'll quite often be late to a meeting because he's just completely lost himself without awareness of time. But Rowena is very bottom flow in terms of her wealth dynamics profile. And it's true, like, she's like that bridge between people and process. It's like, yes, how this is what we need to do. That's who's going to do it. When are we going to do it? And it's just like that project management magic that comes out when you have the right timing people there.
It makes all the difference, because then there's less highs and lows of boom and bust. It's more consistent. That consistency is key in business. You know, we need each of these four areas. We need vision of what it is we're going to create. We need the right people, the right team to be able to deliver on it. We need the right rhythm and tempo and consistency of that delivery. And we need, obviously, all the systems and processes. So those are kind of like the four areas of business that we have to get right in order to grow successfully. But as you say, a lot of people, you know, they're kind of like boom and bust. They got a brilliant idea, they start it, you know, and it falls apart because there's no foundations in place, there's no rhythm to it, or they haven't got the right team in place, or they haven't got the right systems in place. If any of these areas are not there enough, then the business is going to struggle and suffer. So it's a really useful profiling tool for yourself, for the people that you know, but also for your business in terms of structuring who's there and who's working on what. Because entrepreneurs, you know, people who work in property and like to start a business, they tend to want to employ people or work with people who have the same energy as them, they get along with really well. But actually, we need people with opposite skills, and that's a bit more
People who kind of drive you a little crazy sometimes, right? Because it's like they're doing things so differently. They challenge you, like Dave challenges me, you challenge me, I challenge you. And ultimately it creates conflict, but good conflict, because you all like love each other and you share the same values. And so we like challenge each other in a kind way. And ultimately you end up with a better solution because you've got the different questions, as you've put it, kind of like coming together.
Yes, exactly. It's that healthy tension, which is essential in any relationship, whether it's business or personal, to bring out the best in the situation.
So I was thinking I might explain our first interaction with wealth dynamics, because I think it just brings to life some of the profiles. So you've been working with wealth dynamics for a lot longer than we have. I first did a profile in 2015, I believe. And we both, basically, when you want to take the test, you go onto the website. We'll put a link in the show notes to it. I want to say about that at the end, Dom, how you do this. You go on, you get a test, you get a token, you put the token into the website, you answer a test. It takes about 10-15 minutes, and you want to do it in a place where you are, not going to be influenced by stuff. So kind of like a quiet, calm place where you're not getting influenced too much by other things, and try not to overthink the answers. You want it to kind of be your natural response to what comes out. So Dave and I sat side by side, we put the token in, we did the test, and then it emails you the result. And we got emailed our results. And so we were expecting that because Dave was a musician at that time. So
Mm,
we thought that Dave was going to come out as what is called the creator profile.
yeah.
That's the like creative person, as he's, in music, like he's a very creative guy. So that's what we thought he was going to be. And we thought I was going to be what's called the mechanic, or mechanic kind of lord, because at that time I was working in market research in project management, and I was very good at like seeing how to make something more organized, set up a process, make it all work better. Interestingly, when we got our profiles back, it came literally the opposite way around. Dave came back as mechanic and I came back as creator. Now, I'm a lot less hot-headed than I used to be. I mean, threw the computer at the wall. I was like, what a load of rubbish. They've messed it all up. What a crap system. And that was my initial response to it. Anyway, then we started going through and reading the test and processing what it was saying. And actually, as we started to understand it more, it made sense. Dave, as a musician, he was a classical musician in a string quartet. And string quartet and classical music, it's all a system. It's all about getting a system that's already in place and making it work to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Yes, there is creativity, but it's actually more making what's already there work as well as possible. Whereas the creator, it wasn't necessarily just about being like really creative. It was actually about creating, so kind of starting.
Yes.
And thinking about the work that I was doing in market research at that point, I loved the bit where it was like seeing it all a bit messy and being like, oh, here's how I could put the pieces of the puzzle together to make it work really nicely. And as soon as I made it work really nicely, I was bored. Like I just wanted to like make something else work. I love tidying up things and organizing things. I get a lot of satisfaction in creating the order out of chaos, is what I do when I'm mentoring people. I love it when they come in and it's all over the show. I'm like, change this and this, put these pieces of the puzzle together and let's do this. And then once you have to like keep people accountable to actually doing it, I'm bored. Like that's why I work with you and Dave, because you help that to carry on happening.
There we go.
I've created. So that for me really just brought those, just like for us at the top, first and foremost, understanding those profiles, their creator mechanic. And then as we've kind of worked with people more and more, and we'll probably do another episode on this, Dave and I, in terms of how we've used on this with the specific team, because it's really amazing the nuanced knowledge that we have about how people are going to be and where the weaknesses are.
Yes.
Even before you start to work with them, it's almost like telling someone's fortune when you like when I see them, you can tell them it. They're like, "Oh my god, how do you know me?"
Yes. And we all think we're so unique, right? Yeah, no one's like me, but no, actually, you're incredibly predictable.
I know, it's so annoying. So maybe we should talk about the upsides and downsides then of our profile. So like, tell us what you're great at and what you don't like doing, Dom.
Yes. So being a sort of right brain supporter profile, so there's 8 profiles. I won't try and confuse people with all the different names, but I'm predominantly about people, relationships, and helping in particular, actually. So each profile works well with other profiles in certain ways. So I work really well with you because you're creative, and I'm great at taking on stuff that you've created and making it work with a team, with other people, supporting those people, leading those people to bring out the best in them, ensure they've got what they need in order to do well. So my strength lies in those relationships, in helping people to be the best version of themselves, and that's what I absolutely love to do. So my skill set is around the people side. Don't ask me to do all the technical detail. I can do it if I have to, but it's not my flow state. For me, it's not an effort doing this. It's not an effort speaking to people. And yet for others, actually, they find it exhausting speaking to people. It's not in their flow. It doesn't come naturally to them. So yeah, the opposite of me would be the Daves. He's brilliant at the detail, at making sure things are finished. He's got all the things that I'm weak at, right? So which is why it's good to have a balance in the team. But yeah, don't ask me to make sure that all the read through. I was on the phone to the lawyer this morning. He was asking me about all the different parts of the contract. It's like, yeah, I'm just reading that now, and yeah, it looks fine. It's fine. Don't bother trying to get me to to do that sort of detail.
I think like with us in property strategy at the moment, one of your roles is like looking after the events that we have coming up. You know, run quarterly workshops, we run the retreat, and it's kind of been part of how we split our responsibilities that you've been dealing with that. And it's something that it clearly isn't your favorite thing to be doing.
Definitely not.
That is, why do you try and explain why that is for you? Why does it drain you? Because obviously it seems like all, you know, and your profile, you're fully right hand side, which kind of touches the bottom right hand corner, which starts to become more timing led.
Yes.
So you bring into tempo. So what is it about the event management that you feel kind of is more draining for you?
Yes. So it's that level of detail and the nuances and the back and forth of communication and making sure that everything's right and accurate. And yeah, I guess I'm not accurate in that way. The detail I can do is around effectively people's emotions and hearing and seeing what they're saying, seeing and feeling, and linking it back to what solutions have I read about and experienced in my life that I can use as an example to help them. So that, yeah, every profile can do detail, but it's their detail in their own way. And because event management is a lot of back and forth, a lot of decision making, a lot of, is that right? Is that okay? Oh, this person's not, you know, can it fit this? Can it do that? It's all sort of just one, boring, and two, a little bit more technical than I could be bothered with. So, but other people love that, and that's great. So yeah, I look forward to handing that over.
Yes, all in good time. 2024 strategy, get that. Yeah. Our 2024 strategy is hire more people with tempo in the team, because it's we can see the root of many routes to things being better is more people with natural timing, which we'll be focusing on. I say for me, I think that yes, great at starting stuff, great at having ideas. I think creators, and you've worked with a lot of creators, Dom, so let's see if this is true. Are we generally more impatient than the
100%. 100%. Exactly. I mean, if you think, so the timing, the tempo is at the bottom. That's all about consistency and timing. And slow. Yeah. I mean, literally, it's so another way of looking at this is at the top with you, it's grow. Dave is no. Down at the bottom is slow. And the right hand side of me is glow. It's kind of shining. It's bringing out the best. So yeah, you know, if they're slow at the bottom, you're grow at the top, and it's all about fast pace. Like, I want it now, come on, let's go. Yes, so it's just being aware of these things, because it makes us then appreciate, oh, okay, not everyone's going to be as fast as me as at doing these things, for example, or you know, that they're going to slow me down, and that's going to irk me, and that's really annoying. But yeah, it's just being aware of it.
I think it's also being able to laugh at it, right? Like none of any of this is a problem. It's just, and I think it's so much easier, like it diffuses the tension, I think, in teams and working with other people, when it's like, well, that's just Dave, you know, he just gets mental about detail, and sometimes it's all right, Dave, like we get back to the big picture again. Or Dom, like, yes, we have to think about the detail here, and it's like we can laugh at, or Jackie, chill out.
Yes.
Take time, like stop getting annoyed, and I think that it does make it a lot easier to do. I think Dave, I love people, but I also can be drained by people. Like I need my alone time a lot as someone who's I think that generally seems to be true of my profile, like very outgoing, but also like almost like you put too much of yourself out there as a natural thing, so you kind of get drained. I think from having mentored people, I think people who are more tempo, once they get going, can be great because they've got the consistency, whereas the creators are like so excited to start the new thing, and it doesn't work like that. And there's another episode that Dave and I were talking about, like particularly creators, but I think many other profiles too, you kind of have this deluded expectation, the fact that you're just going to make a plan for your business, follow it, it's all going to work out really well, happy, income, travel the world, boom. But that's not how it works. Like there's loads of challenges, it's constant iteration and improvement, and the creators generally, you have to rein them in to help them to keep going. Because gets boring and you get impatient. So that's the downside of being a creator, whereas those who are more at the bottom, this kind of tempo area that we're talking about, really struggle to get started. Like it's slower to get going, and I feel generally more out of their comfort zone with new things.
They don't like change, they like consistency. They will never create something new they'll improve something, but they want that predictability and that certainty in life. Whereas, you want you want the adventure, right? This is why, you're traveling. It's not to say that they don't, but it's just they're more comfortable in an area where they know what's going to happen. And they can predict it. So it's very useful, very, very useful psychometric. It's not even a psychometric, it's just a sort of a profiling tool to help you get to know yourself, raise your self-awareness, and therefore the awareness of how other people are too. So it is a very, very handy tool, essential tool.
And it can change. Like I've seen it might change in myself. So again, coming down to the that shape thing that we keep talking about. The first time I ever did wealth dynamics, the shape that came back was an hourglass shape. So it was strong at the top of creator, starting energy, and also strong at the bottom. And I have subsequently, because I've seen many, many of these now, probably I reckon I must have seen like 200 plus of these that I've kind of seen them and then seen what happens in reality with those people, trying to work with them in different settings. And I have never seen a shape. I've not seen that many hourglass shapes, and all the ones I have seen, real issues with perfectionism. Like than the average perfectionist, that is us with an hourglass shape. And actually, the more that I have worked through that and been able to let go of that, when I redid it maybe 3 or 4 years later, that bottom part had completely fallen away, and it fully at the top, and actually shifted a little bit more towards mechanic and creator, but actually stronger in mechanic.
Right. So the mechanic is the sort of meeting point between the creative people and the left brain how people. So mechanics love to fix things, make things better. Which is and they'll do things to the nth degree. They'll keep fixing something until it's perfect, but then perfection doesn't exist, so that's why they have issues there. Yes. And it's really interesting about the spider graph, because here's the thing: the profile is not all that accurate, right? There's only like 49 points of kind of change, and sometimes people are just really box shape, so they're really well balanced in all areas of that particular profile, and that's sometimes quite annoying, because on the one hand it means that they can turn their hand to anything, but on the other it's kind of they're not massively strong in one area, so it obviously always take it with a pinch of salt. But if you're a box shape and you can turn your hand to anything, you can make a good CEO because you can see all sides, but at the same time you might not excel in any particular area either. So
from the box-shaped people, I think I might have one exception to this rule that I've seen, but generally maybe needing to find their confidence to lean into finding what their one thing is,
who they are,
and who they are. And I think I did see an example of that changing with someone who, as we helped them to step more into being confident about who they were and standing for, that did shift. There's like on the graph, there's like an inner line and then an outer line. And if you are but underneath the inner line, that's really, there's not too much of a particular flow there. Outside the line, there's more of a flow there. People who are fully in the line, like it's like they haven't found their place yet. And that is often they just need, maybe we've covered many more episodes of digging into your personal traumas and what you're holding yourself back from doing. Would you agree with that?
100%. It's a very valid point. If a lot of people, they're not entirely sure of who they are, possibly they've gone into the wrong job, and so they haven't got that confidence of this is who I am, and that's normal. That happens. Certainly people under the age of 30 generally, often they are less settled in their character, and as a result sort of almost more malleable and more open to being changed, and they haven't sort of decided subconsciously about that, effectively their identity and what they're good at. So often it's clearer and stronger as one gets older, and also as confidence increases. So you're right, absolutely true.
I guess my insight from working with people who are wanting to be business owners is that all of this is like, oh, that's my profile, I'm a creator or I'm a supporter. So that's what I've got to do, you know, I've just got, that's who I am. And I basically spend so much of my time going, you cannot just be that. Like, you're just one person right now. You've got to be all these different versions
Exactly.
of yourself. Suck it up and be that person, because you're never going to do any deals if you
Right.
are focused on being your little lordy self writing in a spreadsheet all day. Like, you can't build a business like that.
Right.
So
Yes.
yeah, what do you say to that in terms of like just having these, bring out these different versions of yourself to build a business?
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. Here's the thing. People think they want to build a property portfolio, but it's one of those ones, well, are you willing to suck it up and do the hard work that you don't like doing initially to get to that point where you can effectively afford someone else to do, I don't know, the financial side of things for you, for example, so that you can focus on the bit that you love, that you are good at, that allows you to enjoy it more. But is that interim time of, am I willing to do the difficult stuff that I hate in order to get there? If I'm not, then actually, how else can I work now that is going to allow me to get there in maybe a different method, a different model? And you know, I'm a perfect example of that, right? Property is not my passion, and I work best through others, and that's why I work with you and Dave, because you're brilliant at this, you know, this mentoring program and training program, and I love to do that, and you know, magnify what we do together. But property isn't my thing, so I, you know, invest with and through you because you know what you're doing, and that's great. It means I get the property stuff, but it's not me doing all the hard work. So there's always ways through. It's just whether or not you're willing to put in the work yourself, or whether it's better to work through someone else, or have a business partner that brings, you know, that side of you out, or does that side until you can bring your skill set to it.
Yeah, you're right. And it's just being open-minded to what the path is going to take. It's like, yeah, okay, I want to own property, I want to be generating passive income. Like, there's different ways that you can go about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, I don't know, there's a lot of messaging in property that's kind of like, oh, anyone can do this, you know, just
Yeah.
follow this system, and
Yeah.
anyone can be a millionaire in a, you know, a few years
Yeah.
time or less. And it's like, not everyone is meant to be the business owner in terms of the person who goes out there and they hustle and they start and they make it all happen. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. And
Right.
as long as you are adjusting your kind of expectations accordingly and being open to alternative routes, that's fine. It's just when you're fixated on only one way of doing it and not being willing to open your mind to, okay, maybe it might take me maybe longer because I need to get a business partner, and then we're going to share it 50-50, so we need to double the amount of stuff. Maybe it might take longer, or, and it's just being okay with that. And I think we all are mostly fixated on being the one that goes in and does it the way that we've done it, not the way
Right.
that you've.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And would you say that you've been through that journey yourself in terms of like trying to do things yourself and get started, and then coming to that acceptance, and
Yes.
any for others?
It's spot on, Jackie. You know me so well. Exactly that. I literally was trying to run my own business. I started my own business in 2015, and I was with, you know, another consultant who's a creator. But yeah, there was no tempo energy to it, and so the business kind of fell over. And at some point, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, I decided, rather than try and build my own business, actually just work with others and help them build theirs. And as a result, I have enormous fulfillment and satisfaction in everyday life. And it gets me to where I want to be, but it's not necessarily being the business owner, being the one in charge. In fact, I've decided I don't like being the one in charge. I like working.
I can tell this, Tom, which
Yeah.
is good, because I do like being in charge, so it kind of works.
There we go. So yeah, it's win-win all round when you make that decision to go, actually, I don't have to do it all myself. Yeah. Doesn't mean you can't. It's just the choice.
So I think I'll explain how people can go and do this test themselves if they want to, and then we'll come back and we'll do final thought to leave people with on the along these lines. So if you want to do your wealth dynamics profile, if you haven't already done it, or you want to do it again, we'll put the link in the show notes for where you can go and buy a token. They sometimes do have it's about 80 or 90 pounds, I think, to do a test.
Yeah, what was it, $100? Maybe it's changed, but it's something. Yeah,
something like that. There is occasionally discount codes. I have seen 50% discount codes, so just check if there is that before you do one. If there's not a discount code, I think we will also, we buy tokens in bulk because we use them a lot with our mentees and with our team as well. So if you can't get a 50% discount code, we'll put a link so you can buy one through us, which would be cheaper than the normal rate if you go out and buy them directly. But 50%, if you can get a 50% voucher, go and do that because that will be cheaper. So I'll put a link to our way of purchasing a token through us. And then you go and you find a nice quiet place to go and fill out the test for 10 to 15 minutes. Try not to be influenced by what you think you want to be. Just answer honestly and intuitively. And then you get emailed the report. There's been a few bugs with people getting emailed their reports. So just contact their support if it doesn't come to you. And then, so you'll get your primary profile and 2 secondary ones, which are normally the ones either side, and then you'll see that graph on like page 2 or 3, which will kind of bring to life a lot of these things that we're talking about here. And then read through the like 30-page document. It's it won't all ring true because it will just be basically telling you your primary and then secondary profile. So just it's just that awareness of like, oh yeah, that feels like me, and then just become aware of it in your day-to-day life and see how you can lean into more of that stuff that feels right, and you'll be amazed. Really, I say 6 months or so, our roles change substantially from having this information. Yeah,
exactly. Great. So final thoughts, mine would be that all this is about raising your self-awareness. The more self-aware you are, the better life gets, and the more open you are to learning and being accepting of others, accepting of yourself, not beating yourself up and all those things. So this is one brilliant, although simplistic, tool that we use and would highly recommend that almost everyone tries and uses, because you learn so much about yourself. So that would be my final thought. Do that, but also be open to others because they also have value too.
I think that's a brilliant summary. I think this has application not just for yourself and any business partners that you choose, but also ultimately how you then subsequently go on to build your team as well. So if the first step is to understanding it for yourself and any close people that you're currently working with, and it will really help to define your roles as you start to understand this. And then as the foundation, we can then use that as the springboard for, okay, what team have you got to build around you, and what do you need to be wary and aware of when you are getting into that part of your business and scaling and bringing other people to support you, and the highs and the lows of that.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant.
So on that bombshell, go and find out more about who you are and figure out what you can do to make your life in the business even more enjoyable by following that path. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on this latest episode of the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. So it's a new year, it's a new start, and until next week, where we will be joined by Susanna Cole, who is going to be talking very openly about something that you may not have known that she's been going through, which she's been faced over the last couple of years with a situation that has given her a 40% chance of death. So she's really been faced with her own mortality, and it's really made her reflect on her property business and health. So an amazing episode coming out next week with myself and Susanna. You're not going to want to miss it. So until then, have a fantastic week ahead.